Hola, buenos días.
Hi, good morning, and welcome to the press conference of one of the series that form part of the official section of this edition of the San Sebastian Film Festival. It's out of competition. It's a special viewing, and we're glad to have Javier Giner's series, who's an old friend of the festival, to present Addict. We have a lot of representatives of the film. Let me introduce you them, starting from the far corner of we've got Laura Rubirola, executive producer, Victoria Luengo, actress, Sofia Fábregas, vice president of production of Disney Plus. Yes. I thought Javier Giner, ORIOL PLA, MARINA, SALAS, and OMAR, AYUSO, actor of the film. There are a lot of questions, but if there aren't too many questions, I'll help you and ask a question. Okay, well, let's go. Pepa, yes?
Hola, Pepa Blanes.
Hi, Pepa Blanes, Cadena Ser. I would like to ask Javi and everyone who's there on the panel about the responsibility of being in Javi's series, which is his story, it's his book, and also what was it like to approach him not only as a director, but also as the creator of the story, as the character who was in that story. I don't know whether it's a unity or symbiosis different to other projects. Can you tell us what's Javier Giner like as a director? Well, okay, I won't say a word then. What was the question? What's Javier like as a director, the process, because different to other projects where perhaps the creator wasn't so emotionally involved in the story. You as actors, that you were portraying real characters, especially you. How was it to manage that material and to work with Javier with that material? I'm not too sure how to tell you this exactly, because I'm landing basically today, and I'm trying to narrate everything that I went through. Because leaps in time, emotional leaps, and time spaces. Javi was, or is better said, he is a person who's an incredible person, very generous, very magical, who has taken us in, and from the outset, to me, with completely nude and with a lot of love written in capital letters, love. That is to say, personally, intimately, in private, it has been a gift. And I'm not ashamed. To me, Javi has changed my life. Before I was much happier, now I'm very bitter. And so therefore, we were really looking forward to, we loved each other from the outset when we met, and these have been the tools that we've used. So it's we wanted to go to a place, and we don't know how to go. We got there, but gave ourselves everything. We went full on. We put a lot of trust in ourselves. Javi has become one of the people that I've known very much, and I haven't known him for a long time. And I gave my soul to him, basically. And from the outset, based upon the actors and the colleagues who are sitting in front of us in the front line. If I'm talking about the actors, he's been very generous in linking and take care of us, the whole ensemble, with very clear principles in mind, and very humble and very generous and quite clear. And from there, everyone has given their all, given their soul, even if it's just a little bit or this here. There was a joint decision where all of us were full on in order to achieve something that we respected quite a lot. And he was, as a captain, humanly as well as professionally, captained us in a masterly fashion and very generously. Javi's the best director I've worked with, except all of the other directors that want to work with me again. In that case, I'm prepared to change my mind. There's a question. Hi, good morning. Congratulations, Javi. But now you're called Javier, and then after a lot of work and knowing you and your experience, first of all, showing that book, and then that book going from Javi to Javier, how do you feel at present after seeing your characters and your life reflected in the big screen? Above all, what step have you taken personally and professionally? And congratulations. Thank you very much, Yolanda. How do I feel? I'll tell you how I feel today exactly. Right now, I'm very moved. I've been crying in the interviews all morning. It's something that for me, there's a moment in chapter 5 that Oriol's character, who's called quite curiously like me, he says to the therapist, it's just like all the moments in life came together that afternoon. And I knew it was going to happen. And I have that feeling as well, that all of the moments of my life are coming together right now, and everything that I've done, that I've been, have brought me here. So this new family that I've chosen, that I feel that they belong to me, they're a big part of me. Many of you who are here sitting down in front of me, and the Nora Navas character, the woman who saved my life. Who is sitting amongst you now, looking at me. My family. Pedro Almodovar, who's coming to the premiere this afternoon. Penelope, who was here on Friday. I've got the feeling that in a certain magical way, I've managed to bring them together and celebrate the fact that we know each other. And that for me is very deeply, deeply emotional. And that's all I was going to say. That's it. Well, I'm crying as well. Excuse me, my question. Yes, just before you ask you the question, I think that what I would like to highlight or underline in this state we all feel at the present moment is also quite symptomatic of what the creation process and the development and the shooting of this series, because human beings finding themselves without any vanity, egos, in a very open and what I'm receiving from what you're seeing and your response, I think it's an audiovisual artifact that we've managed to make between us all, which is almost in the flesh and is really almost cathartic, and it tears us apart. And we, humanly speaking, this has gone right through us. My question is not for you, Javi. Well, great. I'm glad, because I can stop crying now. It's a question for Sofia Fábregas. You started to make your own series as of late, and I'd like to know, I think that this is a very courageous and brave series. I think it's the bravest series that is made in Spanish TV fiction, and not because Javi's a friend of mine, because I believe so. And I would like to know what were your indications that we've got to make this series despite the great risk that's behind it, because it's a series that submerges us, immerses us into the lower parts, and it's cathartic and it's very luminous, but it's not easy to make. And I want to thank you for being so courageous to do so. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for your words and for your question. This series was easy to make it because we had a book that we read In Disney, we take the spectators in serious. We're an entertainment company. We do Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars. But we're also the house of the Moriarty, the Altimo, of the Cabezudo, and today of Javi Giner. We're very proud. We believe in a fiction that goes beyond just entertainment, fiction which talks about things that are necessary. I think that as executives, when we choose what projects to make or not, there is a component of responsibility that you can't evade. So therefore, when the project came to us through Aitor Gabilondo, I hadn't read the book. Someone told me about it, but I read it on a weekend, and on Monday, we called up. I said, let's go ahead with it, because it's unquestionable, because it's so true and it's so necessary that effectively so. It was a very easy decision, I must say so. I know that the question wasn't for me, but for Sofia is going to allow me to add that I think it's important to highlight it. I think in the series we talk about, obviously, about the backbone is an individual process of Javier Giner, but I think there's also, it claims the group and the power of the networks of affection and collective. It talks about the collectivity as a power that multiplies individual power. So therefore, now, quote unquote, or ORIOL, the quote unquote, we are the most visible faces of this project. We are receiving a lot of applause because of jumping into the void, because of our risk and so on. But I would like to highlight and to give value to the fact that if we've been able to do all of this, it's because all of the people that are sitting here and many more that are not here have allowed us to be able to jump into that void. So without Sofia and without Disney, this film couldn't have been made. Without Aitor, it couldn't have been made. Without Laura and Vicky, Itziar, Elena Trape, and 1,000 other people, we couldn't have made this series. And so what Sofia is saying, very humbly, we all know how complicated and how difficult it is in an industrial world which tends to go towards formula that we repeat time and time again, and to appear with a series of these characteristics. So therefore, this is due to this woman who has just very humbly has answered your question. I'm not too sure whether there are any more questions. Gregorio, please. No, Gloria's, we veto Gregorio, he can't talk. My question is more banal. It's more for Oriol than for you, Javi. I think this, you've got the Javi reflexive, Javi the reader, Javi explosive, Javi the dancer, Javi the director. But Oriol, what was it like? Because Javier, you're Javier Gines, in front of, behind the camera, because the two Javis, how did you manage that context? We did very well, but the crew had a tougher time. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun, because at the end you're playing, because we let life and play let us go, and that's how we shot these scenes in many senses. So therefore it was a lot of fun, because it was a celebration of that humanity. So therefore it was contagious to the rest of the cast and the crew. So, albeit all the time, there was a lot of light and a lot of laughing and a lot of celebration, because get to the darkest places. You have to go to the darkest places. You got to do it with a lot of light, and everything has its opposite side. And the question wasn't for me. You realizing that I like to talk. There's something very beautiful in what Uri has just said, and which it moves me enormously. For example, in yesterday's press viewing, there was a lot of laughter, and there were people that pointed out that there's no distinction between comedy and drama, that Addict goes through, which is a reflection of life, really. What Uri is saying is almost, it shows what rehab. Anais says something that say, in a rehab clinic, one cries a lot, but you also laugh a lot, because what's at play is life and death. And those opposite sides are at play. And it is true that obviously, and we're not discovering America here by saying there were moments that Oriol had to go that were tough and emotionally very demanding moments. But also it is true that we've not suffered as much as you might think, because all of it has been, in a certain way, surrounded by a lot of kindness and a lot of love between each other. And we've all had laughed, and we keep laughing quite a lot today, because at the end of the day, we're all clowns. And that's it. That's all I wanted. And that's the highlight. We're all clowns. I'm not too sure whether there's any other question. Well, oh, yes, there is a question there. Javi, sorry. Hi, my question is for Omar. And Javier is probably going to answer as well, but I'm very interested in your character, because it's a short character and appears in a couple of episodes. It adds something that that's not in the book. It talks about the audiovisual industry, of the toxic dynamics and harassment, and I'd like to see how that role emerges and how much involvement you have with that character. And my personal involvement with this role and with this project is absolute. Addiction is an issue which hits me close for reasons I'm not going to explain now. And so therefore, albeit my participation in the project is small, I feel this project as one of the most important in my life. I think that Iker's character, it is true, he represents a person that forms part of the audiovisual industry. But beyond this, I think it's a fiction character, a particular fiction character that represents a case, unfortunately, which is generalized, of dynamics of the abuse of power that's in the audiovisual world and in many other, and in all industries. And that's it. I came to this project because Javi forms part of my life, and it comes along at a very special moment in my life. And this series, to a certain extent, is the climax of that moment and that process, which moves me quite a lot to accompany him here. And that's it. And he wants to participate in the series. He wrote a character. I did an audition. No, one. You did several auditions, that's right. And here we are. I don't know what else to say. Yes. No, I want to say one last thing. I'd like to add that to me personally, I'm deeply moved to form part of a project, an important project. I think that Addict is an important series. It's a series that gives a voice to Javi's life, but also to the life of many people that are silenced and stigmatized throughout history. And in these times that very few audiovisual products are very important, to make a series like Addict is something that connects me with my profession and commits me with my profession, and that's why I'm here. And I'd like to highlight, taking advantage of what Omar's saying. It's true, when I was listening to him now, I've got the feeling that I've tried to choose actors or actresses who I intimately admired to propose a challenge to them. And I've got the feeling that of taking them beyond and to surprise myself and surprise them, doing things that we've never seen done. For example, the work Omar's work, as well as Marina's work, Ori's, or Vicky's, as well as the work all of these people that are in front of us. That moves me deeply because I've got the feeling that as if they were presenting themselves to the world in a new sort of way. We've never seen Omar AYUSO, who is in I8, and I knew that Omar existed. He was there. My challenge was to extract from him even things that I think he didn't even know he could portray. And in that sense, I'm absolutely blessed by this army of savage and courageous and brave people. I jumped into the void, leaped into the void. I could have fallen down the cliff and hurt myself. But when I look back, I had this orchestra of actors that leaped into the void along with me, believing in me, who is debuting in his first series, and telling me, Javi, I'm here for you. I'm going to give you everything I have. Hi, first of all, congratulations, Javi, and to the entire team, the cast and crew. Thanks for the book, but also to opening yourself up this way in this series. I think that it's a series that can inspire many people. My question is not for you, it's for Laura, because I believe that in a project which is so personal, production went through its difficult moments and also easy moments. Could you tell us the toughest moment in the production process and the most luminous moment in the production process? Great, thanks. And the most difficult was when I knew that Javi formed part of... Yes, it was the director that was the difficult moment. No, not at all. But I was going to tell you the first time I met Javi, which was for this project, and the first thing he said to me, the first thing I asked him, I said, well, what is indispensable for you to make this project? And this is a question you should always ask. I always ask it, but in this case, I even more so. And he said, I want to form a family. And this sounds quite... well, it's a bit of a cliche. We're making a family, but in this case, I think it was true. This is the most difficult thing, above all, to achieve. To achieve what's happening here today. I think it's much more than a press conference, much more than just a series, and that's the most difficult thing. And one of the most important things when working, because we are in an industry, obviously, but if we can work in a much kinder, the most beautiful, much more luminous, and the more the better. I think projects end up capturing this energy. So therefore, what's on the screen, if it wasn't behind it, the camera, it wouldn't have been in front of the camera. So therefore, that's the most difficult thing, but it happened in the most natural way. I think the most luminous thing was that, to see how we were creating all of this, how we were bringing, each of us were bringing along the people who we respect professionally, who we love, and we believe that they could contribute something to the project, just like Omar had just mentioned. I think that everything has happened in a very, very beautiful and organic way, and that is in the series. And I think that has been the most difficult thing. Yes, that's what I want to say. I'm not Javi, but I would like to add that it is true that... Don't start to cry, because if you start to cry, I'll start to cry. That the human team has been extraordinary level, and it's true. And I wanted to underline this feeling, to share it with you. But Laura, in this sense, has taken care of us. She's taken us to certain levels. As a person that has done so much work of generating a network that I had never, ever had known, and this is incredible. And we've talked about this between each other, haven't we? How beautiful is this? Because sometimes in the professionalization of art, and all of a sudden everything becomes individual, and it's fits into compartments, and all of a sudden we put on our tie and do this, that, and the other. And for example, when the border is a bit more it's a bit blurry, more deeper things occur, and that's all I wanted to say. I didn't finish it correctly, but no, me now. Javi will finish it off for you. And I'm taking things on and I need to say things. I think that Addict as a series, what we've tried to make a radical claim and savage claim of what a human being is and humanity and of empathy. I'm not only sick and tired, but I'm tired and exhausted. Listening to this business is a savage business. TV is a savage. No, TV is nothing. The business is nothing. They are blurry entities that exist. This business and the TV can be savage because we as people turn it into something savage. We can be demanding and perfectionist without being a tyrant. We can shoot a series bearing in mind the human beings that form part of it from the first to the last. We can doubt. You can cry and you can laugh. But I think the truth is that there is a current of energy that goes right through Addict as fiction and as a project that is in favor, quite simply, in favor of humanity and communicating from the vulnerable positions that make us people and to stop fucking each other's lives up. I think there's a deep claim in favor of the power of kindness. I said that before. For a woman who's sitting here, for example, was able to look at me at a moment where I was a monster and to tell me, you're a monster, but under the monster, you have dignity. Well, that saved my life. That saved my life. And that is very important. Very important. It's much more important than a cinema film festival or that I wear this shirt today. It's much more important than all that. I've got the feeling that in this society in which we live, we forget to talk about what is truly important. And I think, we've tried. That Addict is a punch in the face that tries to break down all of these aspects. I'm not too sure whether there are any further questions. While new questions, Javi, come up. Finally, someone's asked me a question. Finally, I can talk. No. One of the things that we all agree with when we talk about these series is that of honesty. In very honest fiction, you tell your own experience from a book, which is a different process because it's you yourself are telling the story. When the book is published, things change. But how did you live through this process of converting the book, which is your story, into a collective work of art? You've all shown us, given us some clues on how it was emotionally, but beyond the emotional side, but the creative standpoint, how did you make that transition? And also at an emotional level, how did you feel this? Because looking at the series, what I said, how difficult it is to represent your own life and to think about it through your colleagues in this profession. As you say quite correctly, there was a lonely space where I wrote a book, me in my room. I do everything on my own and I go forge ahead. But when I received the call by Ator Gabilondo, I asked Gabi, I told her, I need you to be the project because I need some external eyes. I lived the real experience. I turned it into a book and in that third transformation, I needed advisors, people that could help me and to show me give me another look on it so that I could move away from all of this. And you've got Aitor, you've got Alba Carballal, the screenwriter who's here, Jorge Jimonarriz, who is also a screenwriter. And I continuously was telling him, one of my messages, don't respect me. I let post-its to Alba writing down, don't respect me. I said, not respect me, but to transform my life into a language with a radical honesty, because otherwise it would not make any sense to tell this story. I'm a firm believer that the only way to... Well, I like to say that I made this series as if you form part of a group therapy, the famous image of people sharing things in a circle, sitting down. That only works when you, so to speak, communicate from your deepest wounds or for your most fragile vulnerability. There was a person, an actor who's unknown, his name is Javier Cámara, no one knows who he is, who told me while I was developing the series, he said, keep scratching. And I followed him wholeheartedly, Aitor, Alba, when I got itchy or when something hurt, or I felt I had vertigo, or I went straight to that position because I knew that that's where the strain was, which would allow me to a certain extent to communicate with all of those people who are out there who have gone through, who unfortunately will go through something that I've gone through, from an absolute radical honesty. I couldn't make a series where I would tell those people, all of those people, don't be ashamed. You're not alone. If I was the first person of having it. So therefore, the series itself, understand what I'm saying, it's an act of public sacrifice in order to show all of those people, to show your wounds and to show your intimacy, with the most shameful intimacy. This doesn't have to necessarily have to bring about and destroy your life. Thank you very much. We've got to close the press conference here because of professional agendas. Thank you very much, your colleagues, for attending the press conference, and good luck to the future and to all of you involved in the film Addict. Thank you very much.